pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call.
Marvin Brickner.
Here.
Jeff Rita.
Here.
Brian Damitz.
Here.
Luther Williams.
Here.
Debbie Cook.
Thank you.
Here. Do we have any correspondence?
We did receive something, what was it, Monica? A favorable recommendation for, which case, Monica? That came at the last minute. You guys will have a copy of it in front of you.
Under old business, we have case UV 2024-6, James Andershaw. The location is 1569 Indian Boundary Road, Chesterton, and the request is to continue the use variance allowing a farm market produce stand.
My understanding is they've requested by email for it to be continued. The professionals planned from a site plan that's been requested by DRC still process.
I think they're waiting for the drainage report to come back.
So we'll need a motion to continue.
Correct.
So I'll make a motion to continue 2024-6 for 1 month.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Continue to next month in that case. New business. First of all, I'll read the rules of conduct for a public hearing. At a public hearing before the board, the petitioner or proponent shall first present the arguments in support of the case. Those who oppose the petitioner shall follow. The petitioner shall have rebuttal time at the conclusion of those opposing the petition. Those opposed shall then be allowed a total maximum of 10 minutes to rebut any new statements made by the petitioner. It should be within the discretion of the board to impose any time limitations on the petitioner or respondent, and to limit public comment to those determined by state statute to be interested parties. Written remonstrances shall be accepted by the board, but need not be read into the board's record. This then concludes the public hearing. To maintain orderly procedure, each side shall proceed without interruption by others. All materials presented by the petitioner and or remonstrators or supporters to the petition, including photographs, shall become property of the board and part of the record. When we do get to where the public's coming up, I'll let you know there's microphones at both ends. Before you start talking, we do need your name and your address, and then just tell us what you're here. Since we do have quite a few people here tonight, for the sake of time, if anybody chooses to come up and they want to just repeat something that's already been said, the board totally understands you just saying that you're here to, that you agree with everything that's been said. Same way as if you repeated it all, and we appreciate it. So, with that, we'll go ahead. Our first case is UV 2024-64. The applicant is Andrew Pappas and J. Gherkin, Kiratan Lee. The location is 182 West, 1050 North in Chesterton. The zoning is R1. There's 16 acres, and the request to continue the existing use variance allowing the operation of the current horse stable and the use of the riding arena. Christy, is there anything from staff before we hear from Mr. Lee?
No, we haven't had any complaints. This is just a renewal. We've already approved him.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Leith.
Good evening. I'm Todd Leith. I'm an attorney here on behalf of the petitioner in this matter. Andrew Pappas joins me as well, and we're going to try and explain why we're here tonight and the request for a renewal. So this is the northern half of the property for Mr. Pappas's riding arena and horse stable. It's at 182 West, 1050 North, as you indicated. The property overall is a little over 16 acres in size. And we're asking for a renewal of a variance that was previously granted 5 years ago, exactly 5 years ago tonight, actually. The variance at that time was to permit a horse stable for 23 horses and a riding arena. That's exactly what we want to do tonight, just continue to do what we've been doing for the last 5 years. Before Mr. Pappas bought the property approximately 5 years ago or a little longer, the previous owner also had a similar use variance. The overall property is highlighted in yellow. This is the screenshot of the county's GIS website showing the orientation of the property. 1050 north is the northern property and where we have access to the property. You can see the buildings. The white rectangular building is the newer riding stable. The property is zoned R1, subject to the variance that was granted, and you can see there I've highlighted the new arena that was granted with a variance in 2021. We've gotten a lot of approvals since Andrew started this process. So we got a developmental standards variance for the riding arena. Then we got the use variance shortly thereafter. Then we got another developmental standards variance to have a larger height of the building. So in the large new riding arena that was built in 21, there are horse jumping and so forth. So we need a taller roof for that. You know, rider sitting on a horse and then jumping requires a higher roof, and we received that variance. Then that was the third. And then with all of that, we then were able to engineer stormwater and do the development plan for access, stormwater, all of those things that are required by your ordinance. And that took, frankly, a very long time, all during COVID. And then we received that approval just after the first of the year in 2021, and the barn, the arena was built and went on the tax records in 21. So this is a renewal under the conditions of the approval 5 years ago. Requires a public hearing, as you well know. The staff report, as Christy summarized, indicates that there have been no complaints in the last 5 years. That's our request, simply to continue doing what we've been doing. Thank you.
No one signed in to speak for or against. Is there anyone in the audience that didn't sign in that wishes to talk on this? Okay, we'll call the public hearing closed. Take comments from the board. Brian?
I have no problem.
Okay. Marvin?
I was out there, and place is really nice. The last time I was there, you had a lot of vehicles. I know you remember that. The place was just beautiful. That new building you built, I don't know how big it is, but it's probably 80 by 80, isn't it?
Just a little bigger than that, actually.
I was really impressed with everything
Thank you.
that you've done out there, and I think it's a great place. You know, you just have one corral that's a little wet. You know, it's flooded now, and I noticed that horses are wading in mud up to there. But other than that, I thought the place was just spectacular. And, I wish you a lot of luck, but I think that's a great place.
Thank you.
Jim?
And no issues?
Luther?
I just agree with Marv. I was out there too, and he's done a beautiful job.
I agree with both of you also, so I guess we're ready for a motion then.
I make a motion to approve case 2024-64 for a period of 5 years.
Second.
Do you want to include any stipulations that were on before?
Mark.
Do you want to include any stipulations that were on before?
Everyone what?
Do you want to add to that a statement of including any stipulations as before?
Yeah, same stipulations.
And that's acceptable.
Second agree?
Yes.
Remember what they were now. You have 16 acres,
Yes.
and what's the most number of horses you're looking for? Is 26?
I think that's what we're.
It says 26, but I don't know if that's something.
I think the condition is 23. I believe the condition is 23, if I'm not mistaken.
But I think we should limit the horses to 20 then.
The original application asked for 26 5 years ago.
Yeah.
The board at that point in time approved 23. We've had 23 for 5 years, and I believe that is what the petitioner is now requesting to continue.
That's correct.
Does the first agree? Does the second?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Do the motions agree to continue with the same conditions?
Yes.
All right, pass them down.
Voting for case UV-2024-64, Marvin Brickner, yes. Luther Williams, yes. Jim Coretta, yes. Brian Damitz, yes. Debbie Cook, yes. Motion carries.
Hey, Jim, it's only been 2 years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, our next case is UV 2024-65, Juan Nieves. The location is 598 Apple Drive, Westville. The zoning is RR, acres is 1.12. The request is to allow the continued operation for an internet-based business for firearm sales and firearm transit. We need your name and address.
Oh,
That's why you're here again.
Juan Nieves, 598 Maple Drive, Westville, Indiana, and I'm here to renew my use variance for my firearms business.
Is it
We haven't had any complaints or questions since it's been approved.
and nothing's changed?
No, ma'am.
On this case also, nobody signed in to speak for or against. Is there anyone that didn't sign in that wishes to talk in this petition? Okay, then the public hearing's closed. Those are comments or questions?
No, we did get the letter from somebody suggesting that we can continue that thing. No, I have no complaints.
Jim?
No issue.
Marv?
How's business?
It's okay. Yeah, hanging in there.
I don't have anything to add.
Thank you.
To me, it's a good business as long as you keep it pretty low key.
Yes, sir.
I think you've done that, so nobody complains.
Brian?
I'm in favor.
Okay. No more questions or comments? We're ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve case UV 202465 for a period of 5 years.
Same
Is it
stipulations?
Same restrictions that apply to the previous.
Yes, sir.
Is it 5 years or 3 years to go along with the
How long is your license good for?
The license is 3 years, every 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah, but it's off beat.
So you have to have a renewal at the end of 3 years.
Yes, sir.
When does
So
it
let's
expire?
make it for 3
It
years.
expires in
Sure you get
29.
license renewed.
I renew in 2029. So the renewal comes, and then I come here a year
That's a
after.
good point, Luther.
could we make it 6 years and then that would cover his next renewal?
Back. I don't know. Never done that.
I'm not sure that they can go with
When does it-
license, right?
When does it currently expire?
2029.
How is it?
That's more like 5.
5 o'clock.
Well, I just got it renewed, so I'm sorry, 27, 24, 26, 27, and
So
27.
you start the process for renewal in 27.
Yes, sir.
So if we we had this current, we like to have the variance run with your ATM license so that they are coincide on timing. So if we did July 1st of 2027, is that the proper timing for you to be in the right? Because eventually what we want is your approval to the 3 years to match the license with 3. So
I would like that too. It's less stressful.
correct.
Yeah.
So in 20.
Can I look at my license real quick? Just to,
Yeah, what month does it expire?
I'll tell you here real quick. Actually, it expires in February of 2026.
So when would you start to reapply?
I start to apply about 3 months prior, so the paperwork starts coming in.
So what if we? When does it expire?
February 1st of 2026.
So what if we did?
One year we put on.
That's not 3 years.
Because we're off beat already.
Oh, okay.
Trying to
This
give
one
them
would this one would reset the clock.
Right.
So if we did a year,
did 1 year.
Yeah.
2 years.
Like to amend your motion?
3 years.
1
year.
and then that puts them on the
Oh,
same
okay,
as what
to
this
match
new
up.
law.
Okay. But hope Ms. Marosco has a good point.
Oh.
We could do 4 contingent upon his renewal
Okay.
As long as
from the
we
ATM.
What happens
don't
if
have any problems when they come and inspect. If we
Correct. Right. The first thing they do is always ask if I'm,
You're right.
valid.
You're right.
I like that better. 4 actually.
That realigns him and that doesn't
So we
have him
go
back
4
here.
years.
He doesn't need to come back.
Okay.
I would sure
And
appreciate.
then we'll be at the same time.
Yeah. Do
That'd be
it
awesome.
4 years.
Makes sense to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Make a motion to approve for 4 years.
What month?
Okay, school.
It's February 1st is the. Well, he comes like a month prior to, so what would that be? January, February. So January, the beginning of January would work out fine.
For this
Well, we meet the third
Or
week. So.
of
Meetings are held the third week of every month.
So do you want to come back in November or December?
November works.
Because
December gets busy.
Yeah.
November's a good time. Yeah.
So 4 years from now in November.
correct.
And this is November, so 4 years from now.
Stipulation.
That one out. Okay.
With the same stipulations.
Right. You already said with the same stipulation.
I will second that.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second.
Thank you.
Voting is called for case UV-2024-65. Jim Corita, yes. Luther Williams, yes. Marvin Brickner, yes. Ryan Damitz, yes. Debbie Cook, yes. Motion carries 5-0. 4 years.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
It's Clarida. I was talking to Christy.
Can we just not? I mean, seriously, do we have to be center of attention?
Our next case is UV 2024-66, Timothy and Monica Evans. The location is 147 East, 50 South, Valparaiso. The zoning is R1. The acres is 5.07, and the request to allow homeschooling with hands-on learning for children with special needs.
I present letters from parents.
Are these the same ones that you emailed?
I had a few that were in advance, but then I got some in addition.
You want to look at them first?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. We do need name and address before you start, and tell us why you're here.
Okay. Monica Evans, 147 East 50 South, Valparaiso, 46383. I am the homeowner of that farm, the Old Miracle Farm, and like to have a use variance request regarding homeschooling children with special needs.
You want to tell us anything about your facility?
The desire, or what we do? Yes. We approximately have right now 26 young people. We range in age from kindergarten to 10th grade. The children come from various backgrounds and families. The 97% of our children are adopted, so they come from adopted families. Some of those families having significant amount of children. So we have one family has 13. We have another family that has 11. So our kids range in special needs from severe trauma to autism. We have several kids with autism and dyslexia and struggle to thrive in traditional schools. We have a high expectation on behavior and creating young people that honor, one, the Lord first, secondly, their community, and that they want to be able to be great contributors to the marketplace of life. And so we want to provide them a strong desire for work ethic and their ability to use hands-on learning and project-based learning to advance the 40 core education. With that, we hone ourselves in such as a biblical worldview, a strong biblical worldview, and our oversight in that sense is we chose Turning Point Academy, which is under Charlie Kirk to help us in the sense of a strong background as we raise our children in a strong constitutional environment to uphold what we believe are American values. So that's the impetus of who we are and what we do. And we're supporting parents that have strong values in that sense as well. That a lot of the times public or other private schools may not be able to meet those needs in the sense of what those families' values are.
Well, before we go to the public, so the reason why we're here today is because we're dealing with the use, the property zoning, and the use that's being requested. So ultimately, what we have is I know that the terminology that you're utilizing is homeschooling, but not all of these children are your children.
Correct.
And some of these children may be your child's children or adopted children, correct? So we have, I believe you said 26 children.
Correct.
Those 26 children are coming from basically two family groups.
Well, probably 4 family groups, 4 or 5, the majority, yes, 4. Because we have one family is here with multiples, another family has multiples, and another family has multiples. Yes.
And those children are being homeschooled by their parents.
They had been homeschooled previously, yes.
And now that homeschooling, we're using that term, but the homeschooling is now occurring at this location.
Correct.
And then we also have the in the school world we call them specials, but they're having their speech, that whatever therapies that they are.
We're special, correct. I'm a specialist, a forensic psychologist, then we have another coach, and then we have another therapist, correct.
So two subcontractors are coming out to provide that service, correct? How is that getting paid?
So some of the kids get what's called ESA dollars, and quite honestly, my husband and I pick up the rest. We pay all the everything in the overhead.
And then how much is charged for the children to go to school here?
The educational fees are $7,800. I have 8 of the 26 that actually are able to pay that. The rest don't.
And then are you, not that you need to be, but are you accredited with the state in any way? Are you receiving any state dollars?
Just those,
Cool.
there's those children that fall under special needs in the ESA. Those 8 children that are being provided for under their individual educational plans. The rest of them, parents can't afford it.
So ultimately for the board and for the audience, so we're not confused and we're not talking cross purposes. Ultimately, the board here tonight is not rendering opinion as to whether this is good as a school or good as a setup or bad as a school or bad as a setup. Our job is quite simple. It's what's the use, what's the zoning, and should this be given a use variance? The use, they wouldn't be here if the use was allowed in this zoning district. So that's why they're here before the BZA asking for a use variance. So there's lots of other subjects to talk about, but tonight the main issue is use and the zoning and whether this is the appropriate request and whether they've met their burden to have that use variance. I just wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page. Simply put, if this was Miss Evans homeschooling her children, we wouldn't be here. Okay? That's a different scenario. That's allowed in residential zoning. This is a couple parts at least separate from that. But at the end of the day, it's the use, it's a school at the requested location.
All right, for our public hearing, we looked at people that signed in. Monica, that's the first one. Then we have Richard Livermore.
Richard Livermore. Oh. Okay. Richard Livermore, 142 East, 50 South.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I own the property at 142 East, 50 South, 46 acres for 47 years. I don't live there right now. I haven't lived there for quite a while. But it seems like I was here last year, so I'm trying to figure out why I was here last year before the zoning commission or whatever for the same situation. And it was denied. They said they couldn't have the school. Now it seems like the school's been going on. They've had the school, and now we're trying to do this. And yet, when my neighbors said they called, nobody's actually gone out to look at this school. Nobody's actually from the health department's even looked at the facilities. Can they even handle this kind of people? But anyway, so I just am kind of like confused as to why I'm even here this year again. Because it seems like the same kind of question that they tried to do with the rezoning. So they understood when they bought the property that it was R1, that it was not fit for this use. Now, to me, they're just trying to work around it. So.
Next is Jackie Knight.
Hello, my name is Jackie Knight, and I live at 148 East 50 South. My biggest concern is about the impact on the surrounding ecosystem. There are wetlands on the property that the school is located on that flows into Parker Creek, that empties into Salt Creek, which then empties into Lake Michigan. They have a large number of individuals that are on this property 5 days a week. They have a septic system that is for a residence. It is not adequate, in my opinion, to handle the number of people that are on the property. Monica just said that they have 26 students. In addition to the students, there are teachers that are there. Every day there are between 4 and 6 cars on the property during the week, in addition to the students that are on the property. Where do the students live? Are they from Porter County or do they bus them in? That corner that they are located on is a very dangerous corner for accidents. There have been a number of accidents on that particular corner. And I think it's a concern that they are trying to still put a school on that property when those two situations have not changed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list, we have Jonathan. I think it's Kraft.
Like, can I just hold it like this? But I'm really good with a mic.
Well, we can hear you without it.
Oh,
It
okay.
catches it.
Oh, okay. Won't touch the mic. There we go. My name's Jonathan Kraft. I live at 27 South, 117 East. It's the house at the barn up there at the northwest corner there. As Richard alluded to here, just to give you a little bit more background on this whole situation. So a year ago, this went before zoning. And at zoning, it was turned down to rezone the property to an institute. It then went to the commissioners. The commissioners then turned it down. At all that time, when she was turned down for everything, she still went on and started a school. She went to the commissioners and told them that she was not doing a school anymore, that this was going to be for her daughter or son, I forgot which one it is, was going to live there with their kids. They took their website down and said they were not going to do this anymore. Then the first or second week of August comes up, and what happens? We have a school. And it's been a school every day. There has never not, or during the week, during school hours, there is school. It originally started, the kids would drop off at 7:30. They now come at 8:25 to 8:30. There's 2 vans that come in every week. She has never had approval once for any of this, but she has continued to do it. And this is what's frustrating for us as neighbors, is we've went through this process. We've been here. We have, I don't want to say won, but we won at the other levels fighting against this. And she continues to go on and do this. And it's really, really frustrating for all of us. Now, what is our real concern? The property. The property is in a residential area. This is not a school area. She has told you she has 26 kids there, plus adults that are working there. It is a septic system on a 100-year-old, 130-year-old farmhouse. It is not set up for that. It is draining off into Salt Creek. That is the front of Salt Creek. If you go down in that low ditch, now it's wet today, obviously it's been raining, but even when it's dry, if you go by there and look, you can see water in there. Why? It is the septic running right under. When I first approached that problem with her, when she started, she posted everything on Facebook. We got into little Facebook wars and messaging. I will omit all that fun stuff. I asked about the septic. Her answer was, we're going to pump it. We'll pump it often. That isn't a solution to septic, and I've said that from the beginning. I think your mission and what you're trying to do for these kids is great. If you really want to help them, I truly am great with that. But you bought this property
Talk to the board, not the petitioner.
Okay, yes. Anyways, they bought this property and never once asked for they didn't buy it on a contingency to get a variance. They didn't come to you before this. They didn't. Now they're coming to you because the commissioners have stayed on top of this, because again, we've showed our concern to all this the whole time, and now we're here today. And my biggest concern is we walk out here tonight, they don't get approval for the variance. What happens tomorrow? If she doesn't know what consequences are going to happen, she's going to continue. I will guarantee you tomorrow at 8:30, those kids are going to be there. And you can drive by 8:25, 8:30. There's going to be a white Chevy van and a Sprinter van driving right in, dropping them all off. So what are the consequences? And I think Richard's right when he says, why are we here again? Why are we? I don't know. But as concerned neighbors, we really would like this to be handled, be done with. And if she wants to use it as her residence, now she just mentioned her address. She does not live there. She lives in Crown Point, so it isn't. She has homestead on this property and her property in Crown Point. That's a whole nother issue. Won't get into that. But it's just really, really frustrating. And we're just ready for this to be over with. So hopefully you guys can help us today, but somewhere, that's the attorney side of it, someone has to explain to her what the consequences are, because if not, I will guarantee you the school will be open tomorrow and we'll be back. I don't know who we call anymore because we've all done it. So okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Kevin Hoosman.
Hi, good evening, distinguished board members. That's loud, excuse me.
Just back away from it just a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Kevin Huseman, and my wife is Renee Huseman. The previous gentleman, he had a, okay, thank you, sorry.
You're good.
He had a great grasp of many of the details. I certainly don't have that level of grasp. One thing that did make sense to me, though.
There's two mics picking up both. That's why.
Oh, that's what it is, yeah.
All right, now stand closer.
Okay, is that better? Excellent. Thanks for paying attention to that. One thing that we do have in common, the silver Sprinter van that you mentioned, that's ours. So, and we transport our children there. Now I do understand. So, if I'm getting over my skis on participating here, let me know that we're here for a use variance. I understand what that means. I would offer, though, that you would be remiss to rule on a use variance if you wouldn't more fully appreciate what the variance then produces. And what this variance would produce is an atmosphere of learning that for me and my family is incredibly valuable. My wife and I, we are the ones that have the 13 children, and our oldest two are homegrown, and we have been blessed through adopting 11 children. And of those 11, there's 4 of them that have significantly benefited through what Miss Monica and Tim are doing on that corner, and it is they're being used to make eternal deposits. And there was one thing I heard from Mr. McClure when I was sitting here and the preparation was happening, and I heard him say, "Praise the Lord," and I think he said that to Mr. Damitz for some reason. And this is definitely a learning environment to praise the Lord for sure. And so 4 of our children have a very difficult time learning in a conventional atmosphere. And through this, there's one thing that I see in Miss Monica very early, and I've only known her since July of last year, and that is deliberate and very high expectations of the children. And that is something that in the other experiences that my wife and I have had in the other learning environments, that may be the one thing that is most compromised in learning today is high expectations of the children. And so the use variance would go to make available these deposits that I'm speaking of, and those deposits are eternal deposits in the lives of these children. So I don't know what is going to be necessary to consider that. I don't know that you could possibly consider it completely black and white. It really is something that needs to be considered from your heart. And I do understand the frustration of the neighbors. I would suggest, though, that as time might pass, they may be less sensitive to what they've commented on, and they may become more sensitive to these deposits that I'm mentioning are being placed into these children. So I thank you for your time. That is what I can add, and I hope that it does make a difference. Thank you.
Okay, as far as people that signed in, that's all we got. Is there anybody else in the audience that wishes to speak that didn't sign in? Okay, Monica, do you have any comments in rebuttal to any of the statements?
Well, first of all, I think
Wait a minute.
the original request was a rezone request that didn't come before the BZA, went through Plan Commission, got its favorable or disfavorable recommendation, ran its course to the commissioners. That was to rezone the property in total. This is a separate process. This is a variance process. This is, if it were to be entertained, it would be temporary. It's in nature. It's not a forever type of like rezone. So, as far as the two processes, that's why we're here. Seemingly the same subject. Legally, it's different. The first was an attempt to rezone the property forever or until it's rezoned again. This is for a temporary variance to allow a use that's not otherwise allowed within the zoning district itself. If she is not granted a use variance, the school will have to be shut down. As simple as that. If this board doesn't find the use variance, they won't have a right to have this use in this zoning district. And without that right to have this particular use on a variance in this zoning district, then they would at that point have a business in this situation, a private school that isn't allowed in the residential. And if they did not cease, then the county would be forced to go through the court system to have that stopped. If this board approves it, then they would be approved under whatever conditions this board would approve. But that's the process for tonight.
Thank you. Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, again, and I was clear, I did understand the consequences of today. I actually notified the children. It's not my intent to be disrespectful. I did not understand the zoning difference. And so that's why we went to homeschooling. That's why we lost the accreditation and the funding. I'm sorry. So I clearly understand consequences.
Yes.
Maybe one thing to address. I did talk to the health department in regard to the septic. While it's true the septic was put in there for residential use, when it becomes more of a commercial type use, that's a different process altogether. And so I did talk to Dan Boyd. If you were to grant, and if you grant the use variance, they will have to address that. That will have to be a condition to address. So just so we make it clear on the septic, that would have to be a condition if you were to approve.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. Anything else? Christy, anything? Scott, anything?
No.
More? Okay. Luther.
What a wonderful,
Oh, I'm sorry. No. I assumed we were done. I'm sorry, did I assume?
I'm fine.
And there's nobody else that volunteered, and everybody on the list has been called, so we'll close the public hearing. Okay.
what a wonderful thing that seems to have positive impact on a number of people, but man, it's just, I see all kinds of situations here that deal with the property there, that it just doesn't fit what is required for what you're trying to do. It would seem like that prayerfully you could find an area, if this is not approved, that you could do the things you're trying to do there. And I guess I have questions of not only I have questions of 26 people being in over 100-year-old home, fire and all kinds of things like that you've never even talked about, being something that could severely impact the safety of the students and the people there. I guess that's what I have to say.
Jim?
It's just out of respect to time, I agree with everything Luther just said.
Well, what Luther said, the first thing when I went out there and looked at the building, it's a two-story old frame house, 130 years old. There's fire. There's a problem with the maintenance, upkeep, and the fire hazard in a building like this with a bunch of kids, a bunch of students. You'd be using the upstairs as well as the downstairs?
We don't.
Just the downstairs?
We have 7,800 square feet.
And everything will be in the downstairs?
Yes.
Lunches and...
So we've been doing it since August, and we have 7,800 square feet.
I can't imagine the property itself is pretty rough. I know that you're going to have classes in the summer when you're going to be outside. You're going to have to put there'll be an awful lot of expense to try and fix up the surrounding property to make it usable for kids. And I like the idea of the school. I think it's a great idea, and I'd be in favor of it, but I really don't like the location myself. I think it's not a good location for this type of activity. And I agree with just about everything that the residents around there have to say tonight, that the traffic would be a problem for them, or would be increased, that's for sure. So I think that's all I got.
Brian.
I can ask her a question. May I ask you do you have autistic children? And obviously some special needs children?
The majority of them all are special needs.
ADD, ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
What advantage does this setup benefit them? Not because I heard that they were benefiting, but what is it that benefits them? Is it the farm concept?
The care of the animals.
Okay, so you have animals.
Yes, so we have 2 sheep, 2 goats, a miniature pig, and 3 ducks.
Yeah.
And a rabbit. And so they care for the animals. Is the ability to be outside on the 5 acres consistently, even though when we have poor weather. It is a large space inside, and it has been totally remodeled and rehabbed. And most neighbors can tell. I mean, we tore down the barn. There's a new roof. I mean, everything's been remodeled. We got a builder's permit, and so it's gone through the proper channels here with regard to making sure that everything was safe and all of that stuff. And we got the write-offs on our building permits and everything that we've done. So those were already done through Porter County. So the space is very large, in the sense that even we did from the sense of square footage per child, in the sense of how the law would say that how many kids can be in so many space. So it's not that we didn't do our due diligence with regard to safety and all of those things. And so because it is, I don't want to mix words, because it's like a homeschool, micro school. We don't have all the kids there, because we still have parents that homeschool. So Mondays and Fridays are what we consider extracurricular days, and that's when we bring in skilled trades. So they come in and they learn hands-on through professionals. Like we brought a professional farmer in last week that taught, and she owns a 28-acre homestead in Couts, or we bring a carpenter in, or something like that. So they're learning those skill sets through hands-on in environment, and then they're applied to their math, their science, and everything. So not all the kids are there, especially on Mondays and Fridays. Our core days are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. If we have additional cars, it's because parents come in on a rotation to help in the sense of volunteering. And then my kids live there. So I have a daughter and son-in-law that live at the property. So they have 2 vehicles. They're going to always be there. They live there because there's separate space. So there's a 1,200 square foot ranch. Then there's a fully remodeled, which is probably about 500. It's like 500 square feet breezeway that used to be a garage that's been remodeled, and then the whole house has been remodeled, which itself is 3,400 square feet. And so there's a significant amount of space that we've remodeled and done everything with regards to bathrooms and all of that. New heating and cooling systems on both sides. And we've used locals. We use Earl's. Our local person that did our roofing. Matter of fact, Matthew, I don't know if he's here. He referred us to making sure that we have done well by the property. That was what they gained.
So this is very ironic, but my two children, I have a 7 and a 4-year-old, two girls, and this summer, you know, we wanted them to have a very nice activity. So they went every Tuesday and every Thursday to a farm where they did chores and they learned how to clean the animals and they picked up manure and they collected eggs. And it hits me hard the value that has added to my children's life because frankly speaking, I'm a doctor, and I don't need bougie kids. They need to learn. So I see it being super, super beneficial for autistic children, special needs children, children that have sensitivity issues. It almost desensitizes their sensitivity issues.
Correct.
Instead of loud noise, buses,
Correct.
Sirens, alarms. This is a tough one. I have no more questions.
Okay, I have a couple of them. We already talked about the septic. Mr. Jago said if we do approve it, then you need to get right away with them.
And I did meet with the help, yes, and he's the one that told me that we had enough. He checked our sewer system that we had 2,000 gallons. He said if there were somebody living, so he did all the math, and he said I don't know why I'm here. That's legitimately, I met with him.
So I think the confusion is, again, we're back to the basics of use. So right now the use is single family residential. Has the health department, from my perspective, blessed it for a single family home? Yes. Is that for 26 children, whatever the schedule may be, or whoever's coming and going on whatever given day of the week? That is a different scenario. If this board were to grant that variance, then the health department now knows here's what's happening different from the use. Does this now meet the requirements? That's why it's confusing to the property owner, but that's how it stacks up.
Can I interject? Would you have the funding to be able to increase your septic to commercial grade?
I told him we would do what we had to do. I mean, we've taken so many loans out, it is what it is.
Okay. Does the state have any check system on you, or I mean, does anybody oversee you or check you, or
So yes,
that everything's going according to how you should be doing it?
so we just had the state from the Department of Treasury come out yesterday. This was their first time out to see it, and so that's from the Department of Treasury, not the Department of Education, because we're ESA. The dollars come from different spaces, and so they came out for a tour yesterday.
Periodic checks on you, or
Correct, they do.
Okay.
They're only there for the ESA program.
Correct. Make sure
they're there to do to come do the whatever we want to call it, inspection.
Correct.
Based solely on the ESA children and the ESA funding that's going to that.
They do make sure that the kids are safe. I would imagine, yes, that they're safe. And that we're doing we're doing.
But if you did not have ESA children, Department of Treasury would be coming, correct?
No.
So Debbie, I just don't want you to be confused. It's not. Yes, there is an arm of the federal government responsible for the funding for ESA children that are making sure those protocols are being followed.
Correct.
That's not the same as, because the children are technically homeschooled by their parents.
Correct.
So the supervision from the state is coming through whatever there is or isn't for homeschool supervision through the parents.
I'll show my ignorance then. I don't know. Do homeschooling parents have any people that check on them or requirements they have to meet or anything? And
There is.
Okay.
There is.
Okay.
But I again, I believe those requirements are being met by the people responsible for the children themselves.
Correct.
That's not coming through her.
Okay.
Do you have teachers?
So I am a teacher. We have another parent that is a teacher. Then we have another professional in the sense of we're subcontractors. So everybody has to carry their own liability insurance. Everybody gets something would be called a stipend. At the most, like we make $16 an hour. So just to call us teachers like certified, no, we each have a specialty. Hence, I'm a psychologist.
The age group is from like 7 to 16, 8.
So So we have 5-year-olds, which is my grandson. He's the youngest. A 5-year-old is the youngest. That's my grandson. To the oldest is 16.
Where's the base for all the students coming from? I'm not familiar with it.
So we have LaPorte. We have 3 kids that come from LaPorte. We have some that come from Cedar Lake. We have 2 that come from Portage. We have the majority of them that come from Crown Point and Lowell.
That's
and
a long way to drive.
Yes. That's this family that comes from Lowell, and we have the ones that come from LaPorte, which is almost 40 minutes. And then we have 2 kids from Maryville.
Has the fire department inspected this building? You know, there's been an inspection from the fire department or from the health department.
We only had.
I don't believe so. And again, we'd run into the problem of.
Will that be part of the problem?
Well, the use again would be if we sent the fire department, the use would be single family residential, which they're not going to have a problem with.
And we would have more. So the only reason we don't have the oversight from the Department of Education is because we don't have the use variance. And so with the use variance, then you apply for the accreditation, and then it allows for those more oversight by the Department of Education, hence different requirements. But we did those requirements anyway. So making sure that we have the neighbors will tell you, we added doors, we added closed doors, switch door, like we did it in advance, whether or not we were going to get approval or not. So making sure that the exits and everything, that lighting was at all the exits, we've done that in advance anyway.
You have a cost per student, you know what?
So the real cost per student, what it would really cost if my husband and I were not paying everything, the cost if we wanted to pay real teachers, accredited teachers, would probably be $10,000 a year. But God has blessed my husband and I to be able to pay the overhead.
Any money from the state?
No, just for those ESA kids, and that pays the stipends of those other professionals. Everything that I get goes back into, like, everything goes into the school.
Yes, Mr. Jago.
You met with us previously, and maybe for the boards, no one asked the question, but maybe could you talk, as you talked to Mr. McClure, what is the schedule? Who's normally there? My understanding, this is a Monday through Friday operation.
Correct.
Could you address the board?
So yeah, it's Monday through Friday. Mondays, like I said, Mondays and Fridays, 9:15 to 2:15, and Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays were our academic days, which are from 8:30 to 2:50. And the reason being is that there's a Valparaiso bus that drops off right on the corner, and so we didn't want to impede traffic, and so our kiddos are gone just before that school pickup and drop off occur. So we made sure that there were the only bus that comes is that one right there on the curb of the corners of Matthew and their household. So we made sure that we looked at the schedule and there was no conflict. And because our kids, again, have special needs, we limit those days in the time frame so that they're not there longer. That's why Mondays and Fridays are like that, because they can't handle all those long weeks and the long days. We are year round. So for October, they didn't see us there because we had 3 weeks off. And we'll have a week off for Thanksgiving, and then we'll have a month off during the holidays. So the way that our schedule goes is that there's a significant amount of times that we're not there we don't coincide because we go year round, so the kids aren't missing important education. But we only go at the most 9 weeks, which was the first stint. Now, from now on, the most that the children go are 8 weeks. And then there's a 4 week, there's a 3 week, and that's how the year round goes. So, like, we just came back from break, and then they'll go on another week break.
2 years. Would that be something that would be feasible to do a 2 year?
Yes.
And see how things work out, or is that not?
In addition to that question, Scott, what I was wondering is if we do make that, a lot of things that we've asked questions about is that, well, if they get the variance, then that kicks in. Are those all listed then as contingency or okay?
And if the board is heading in that direction, then potentially we should send the health department out as this would be a school, or this would be this many people, send the fire department out so that so that the petitioner has an idea of what we would require if that were to happen.
Did you get all that? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. And I had just one last.
So if we were to do that, I would probably continue it with a list of directions on what to go information to gather, because what we want to attempt, what we want to attempt is to not have everybody confused. And I think after the zoning request was denied, there was some confusion, and then I think there was a couple of different plans of what was going to happen and what led us back to here. But if that's the case, then I think the petitioner needs to be, for the first time, really, this is what would be required if we're going to have that kind of ingress and egress out of the property at those times of the day. That how many children, can the septic handle it? Can the fire protection handle it? Is the ingress and egress capable of handling all of those issues that you'd normally have at a private school? Because that's ultimately what we're dealing with.
Is there anybody that's ready to make a motion then, based on what Scott
You said
just advised?
continue
Continue it, right?
to,
Just up to our next regular meeting.
and then and the fire department will go out there with
We would have
anticipated variance request.
correct, and so therefore they can anticipate the use for both the health department and the fire department.
Does the street or any traffic situation need to be addressed?
Mr. Jabo, does it make sense to send them to DRC for comment?
Yes, I think that would be very.
Because if we go to DRC, then we've got highway there, we have health there, we've got most of the parts of stormwater.
Because I'm worried that is a fire truck going to appropriately have turnarounds. It's the safety of the kids, the only thing that would.
Well, there's an intersection, we're on a corner, so we have to deal with the ingress and egress, that safety issue. And then I think DRC is designed to hit most of the safety issues, including stormwater. We've gotten comments concerning the stormwater, whether that's being affected in the wetlands, so we could address that at DRC. So we could send them to DRC and, along with staff, help through the rest of the departments in the county, attempt to gather enough information for the board to have and the petitioner to have, and so that before a decision is made, everybody knows the consequences of the decision.
So informal review at DRC.
It would be, so maybe the motion would be to continue. How soon would we get them to DRC?
When's the next scheduled BZA meeting? Or December's gonna be the month of the holidays.
So I'm assuming at some point later in the agenda, we were going to be dealing with the December meeting, correct? Do we have do we have business at this point?
We have, yeah, we have business. It's December 18th, the next meeting.
We could conduct a DRC meeting before their next meeting.
If the room's available.
Mhm. It's the 18th.
So potentially the motion would be to continue to the December 18th regularly scheduled BZA meeting, direct the petitioner to the next DRC meeting for an informal review, and for staff to continue to help in ensuring the health department septic issue is flushed out, no pun intended, as far as what if anything would need to be upgraded and to what extent that upgrade would be, again, so the petitioner has an idea of what cost, if any, there would be. Because ultimately, again, if there's an improvement at the road for ingress and egress, they're going to need to know what that is and have some idea of what that costs. Same with the septic, same with the fire, same with the ingress and ingress out of the house, all of those things, so that we have an understanding as a board of how much change would need to occur at this location for this to work. They have an understanding of how much that would be, how much work that is, and how much it costs, because it eventually comes down to that. And I think that would probably put us in the best scenario to be able to continue to deal with the issue.
Did you understand all of that?
I do.
And you're okay with all of that?
Yes.
$1 million question is, are they allowed to function until
They're currently illegal. We have a use, and it's a not allowed use within the zoning district. But they're here, we have a petition, and if the board we're not in a position to make a decision tonight, the right thing to do is to continue to get the appropriate information so that we can make a decision.
Okay. Can I make a motion of exactly what Mr. McClure said?
Okay.
I'm sorry if that's the cheap way, but he said it perfectly.
Say
To
that.
continue, please.
With stipulations as outlined by the
As
attorney?
outlined by the attorney, Mr. McClure. And contingent on a DRC informal review to be continued at the next meeting.
Mark, did you second that?
He did. Mm-hmm. So we have a motion and a second to continue to go to DRC and with all the stipulations mentioned by the attorney.
This is a voice vote.
Yeah, just roll call.
Roll.
Or just
Voice vote?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0.
Continue the next month, December 18th.
I have a quick question. So currently, the kids coming is illegal, so I have to tell them we can't
That's
do.
liability on you. We're not approving it to occur and exist.
Yet. You don't have your final answer yet.
Yeah. No, I'm saying currently you don't have the approval from this board to function as a school. So any liability would be on you guys. If a kid gets hurt or fire.
Correct. I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next case, UV 2024-72, Elizabeth Culp. The location is 693 A and B on Dearborn Drive. The zoning is PUD. acres is 0.28, and they're requesting to renew the use variance to continue operating a business that provides 24-hour care for seniors.
Hi, my name is Liz Moses Culp, 693 A and B Dearborn, Valparaiso, Indiana. And my name is Lynn Remmel. I live at 423 North, 375 West, Valparaiso. I'm her sister, and I own the property at 693.
Okay. We just need one or both of you to, you've already done your name and address, then we just need to know why you're here. Just kind of remind us what you get going on, any changes or whatever.
No changes, it's exactly the same.
Okay, well, some of the members are new since you were here last time too, so if you can give a brief story.
I have a private home for seniors. We only have 7 seniors. It's the whole duplex. We also have a nurse practitioner that comes in there, and we also have a nursing, because my residents don't leave the building. Mine's more like end of life. So, I mean, we might have them 2-3 years, but they're not leaving, is what we do.
Can you pull the mic back where we can hear you? I can't hear what you're saying.
I'm so loud. How could you not hear me?
I guess I've got ear trouble.
Okay, that's fine. I have a private home for seniors, and the 7 seniors live there.
Okay.
We have 24-hour care, 2 people on staff, 24 hours a day. Unless we have a rowdy resident, then I'll have 3 caregivers there at the same time. I have a nurse practitioner that comes in and examines all of them. I also have hospice there, and I have a that comes every week and is on call 24 hours a day. My caregivers are just caregivers, and most of them, I have one that's 2 months ago we hired her. Other than that, they've been there quite a few years. So that's what we do.
Didn't we visit this place?
You know,
You
I had never been there.
You haven't been there?
For whatever reason.
Okay.
I went by there, you know, I looked this time, but
yeah,
I hadn't been there before.
Did you have anything she wants to add?
I was there after you got the generator, I think.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Before and after.
Mm-hmm.
I was there a couple times. It's a nice place.
Thank you.
I'm really.
We're doing our public
I'm
hearing
sorry,
first.
not my.
I was getting ahead of yourself, Marvin. Hey, did you have anything else you wanted to add? Either of you? Okay. No one signed up to talk on this. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to talk on this? Okay. Public hearing closed. Mark,
No, I
go
don't.
for it.
I have been there a few times, and I really admire and appreciate what you do there.
Thank you.
I think that's a wonderful alternative to assisted living and some of the more expensive care places.
Right.
It's very nice, and you have a backup generator in the house.
Yes, we do.
All of that's been taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 100% in favor of this. I think it's a great place.
Ryan?
I just have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is that provided for a fee or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Caregivers get, no one else paid.
Yeah, but you're helping. You're doing.
Pardon?
I know how expensive end of life care is.
Right.
And I just respect it. It wasn't about the money. It was more about thank you.
Yes. Thank you. We charge $6,000, and I know that beats nursing home.
Yeah.
Far.
Sad.
Yes.
Sad, but yes.
Yes, it does. And then
those can be up to 15, 20, 30, 40,000.
Oh yeah, exactly.
A month.
Mm-hmm. So, yes. Thank
you. Luther? Oh, I'm sorry. Luther?
No, I have no questions.
Jim?
No, sounds great.
Okay. I just want to say I do have a friend whose mom is there.
Oh, really? Oh, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, motion?
To approve case UV 2024-72, 5 years.
Same stipulations.
Same stipulations?
Same. I don't know of anything that's outstanding on your. The generator was the only thing that I can remember. That everything else was
second.
Pretty well.
You have a motion and a second.
I'm wondering if I could ask you a question, Mr. Merkler,
Yes.
because you seem to you have all the knowledge of what with all the variances. Because the house is actually commercial residential. That's the way when we purchased the home, it's commercial residential zoned. So I'm just curious why she has to come back every 5 years to get the variance to say she can still have the home. You know, the senior care home, I should say.
Because the confusion is at commercial residential. We don't have that. There's not a combination zoning like that.
Really?
So I think some of where that might got confused is because was that a paired patio home? I'm trying to remember.
That's a
duplex.
It's in a PUD. Yeah.
Under their zone, it doesn't allow for it. Their zone commercial, but not for like daycare or it's only like a C2.
So it's a PUD to start with.
Yes.
So you may have a commercial residential designation in a PUD,
Okay.
but then the definition is controlled by the PUD of what commercial can be allowed in that district. And so if it's not allowed in that commercial district, it forces you to come get a variance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was just very confused. Great.
Voting for case UV-24-72. Clarita? Yes.
Very close.
Marvin Brickner? Yes. Brian Dammits? Yes. Luther Williams? Yes. Debbie Cook? Yes. Motion carries 5-0.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. It sounds like we just committed to a December meeting, right? So we don't need to discuss that. We're
already on for December 18th.
all right.
That's the third Wednesday is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Anything else or a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Meeting adjourned.
Meeting.
Hey, Jim.